This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results. Are you ready to feel the power?
What is up, everybody? I feel like it has been a hot minute since we have recorded, and we are going to bring you somebody today. Dude, I got to tell you, I'm going to stop right now. That is a glorious sweater you're wearing.
You like this?
I wore the
It's
exact same.
another Facebook purchase.
Is it cashmere?
No, it's definitely not cashmere. It's
I wore one yesterday that was cashmere and looked just like it.
What I like
It's
about
fantastic.
this is that it's thin, still keeps you warm,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
got a little hood on it. So
Yes. Mine was
tough
like
to
that
beat.
shawl neck. I felt like Roy Scheider at the end of what's the Matt Damon movie? Come on now. The John Grissom, Matt Damon, where he's the attorney that takes out the tobacco companies.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it.
Rainmaker.
Rainmaker.
I was thinking it wasn't Rainmaker, but it is Rainmaker. Yeah. If you ever watch that again, like on a lazy Saturday when it's raining outside, Kyle, when he gets to the end and Roy Scheider's wearing his sweater, that's what I was wearing yesterday. Now everybody has a visual. Anyhow, we can move on to bigger and more important things. We have Mr. Wes Becknell with us from RockLake Insurance Group, and we are going to talk about something that I swear, man, probably one of the number one most queried questions that I see in the back channel agency groups is, hey, I got this trucking risk. Where do I go with it? Right? Everybody. And actually, it can go another step further. I can't say the name because I don't want to get in trouble. But I always hear, hey, I got this trucking risk. I can go here, but I really don't want to. Where else can I go with it? Right? So that's what we're going to talk about, man. I mean, we're gonna dive deep into that and just talk all things trucking and how people can get things placed that they otherwise may not be able to, dealing with a firm that does nothing but trucking. Which, if you listen to me, you know I like people who are experts in what they do. You know, I don't got a lot of great relationships at our wholesalers, but I'm not real comfortable with, you know, them understanding the ins and outs of trucking, and I'm not comfortable with it. So if we ever get the one-off stuff for a client where we have to place it, it's good to know that we have RockLake Insurance Group in our corner. So before we get into RockLake, Wes, talk about yourself, man. Give us the 30,000-foot overview of where you came from, because I know you spent some time in premium financing, right? With and my buddy Davey Holt knows you from IPFS, another good friend of Power Producers Podcast. So talk a little bit about your background and what led you to RockLake, and then we're going to dive in.
So I'm like most people. I wasn't born into insurance. I kind of fell into it. My family is an oil and gas business, and I'm a big fan of fingers and toes. So I didn't get into it. And sometimes I believe that I'm more of a sadist because I got into insurance insteed. But I've been on the
You
agency
lose your
side.
mind instead of your fingers and toes now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worse. But no, I was on the agency side as a producer for a number of years. I was on the premium finance side, worked for an admitted carrier, and now work for RockLake. So I'm like many who just kind of found their way into this business and absolutely just love it and every aspect of it. And I have nowhere else to go. I have, like I always tell my wife, I have no other discernible skills other than insurance. So I'm here for the long haul.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you were a producer. What was that experience like for you?
It wasn't for me. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process, but it wasn't something that I bless you guys for doing what you do, but it was not something I enjoyed. I did for 7 or 8 years in totality. And, you can if you're
That's a long
introspective
time to
enough,
figure out you don't like it.
so sometimes I'm stubborn. So I don't quit easy is the problem. I just kept pushing through, and it just became the point where it's either my health and my family or not. And I just told my wife, I'm like, listen, it's time to make a change because I'm just not enjoying this. And it was fun. I mean, there were many aspects I loved. The people part of it is probably what I love the absolute most. But it was just something that was, it was time to take a different direction for me. And I tell you what, it was the best thing I ever did for my health, for my wellness, for my mental stability, which probably my wife would say is questionable at most points. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it. The gentleman that hired me, that I worked out of South Texas, out of the San Antonio area, he truly changed my life. I never meet my wife. I don't have my kids. I don't get to experience some of the cool things that I got to experience without him. So that point of my life is something that I always look back on fondly, but not something I'd ever want to do again.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, just sort of to Kyle's point, this actually probably exists way more than we realize, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think in the insurance industry, it's so easy to get to a marginal income level, where, and what I mean by that, and this is not me throwing shade at you by any stretch, Wes, or anybody else out there that's in this role, but I've seen it. And I think that you can get to like 30, 35,000, and you can probably get to like 45, 50,000 in annual earnings, and then you're going to start really hammering down, and you hit that like $65,000, $70,000, which is respectable earnings. You're probably working harder than you need to get to that, and it's sort of a ceiling. Like you get to a point where you're like, God, I feel like I'm grinding so hard and I'm only bringing home this much money every year. This is not my idea of an ideal occupation. I got into this because I thought maybe I'd have work-life balance or whatever else. And here's where I'm going to drop the hammer. Agency principals, that is your fault, period. End of story. You don't have training programs in place to teach people how to produce. You don't have the infrastructure. You don't understand that you need to be monitoring behaviors prior to monitoring results, because if you monitor behaviors, they will breed the results you're looking for, and you can do that much earlier in the process, and you're just not setting people up for success. And unfortunately, we're in an industry where crap has been done the same way for decades, if not 100 years or more, or centuries at this point. But at the end of the day, it's just like there are still people out there that are going to go in, they're going to hire a producer, they're going to walk in the first day, and they're going to hand them a phone book and say, you need to make 200 calls today. And if you make 200 calls, you should sell 5 policies. And that's how they think, because it's always been a volume play. You can't do that today, man. You can't do that in the middle market because, number one, it's like when John Henry, if we're going back to American legend, and John Henry's trying to outwork the steam jackhammer or whatever it was when they were building the railroads in that story, and he died with a hammer in his hand because he was trying to outwork a machine. That's what producers who were trying to compete with Google and Amazon and Next Insurance and all these other people are doing to themselves. They're just running themselves into the ground, and they're doing it with the agency principal basically playing the role of Dr. Kevorkian, leading them to their production death, in my opinion, right? I think that agencies aren't set up for it. Thus, the whole reason Killing Commercial exists, because we bridge that gap for them. But that's not what we're going to talk about. But I understand where you're coming from, because there are a lot of people. And I think that when you sit in my chair, or when, even if you're a producer, and when the marketing reps come in, right, and it's, oh, yeah, I did a little producing, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, you must have sucked, or you never would be in the role you're in now, right? And that's not the case. I don't think that's the case at all. I think there are a lot of talented people that are really good at what they do that just probably weren't in the right role as a producer, or didn't get the support they needed as a producer, and they're sitting there floundering right now. And the industry lets them do that just based on how easy it is to make a reasonable living relatively easily, I would say, relatively quickly too, if you do it right. The guys that are look, I say this all the time. The process is not sexy, the paychecks are, right? Or the paychecks are sexy, the process isn't. I say it forwards and backwards, but that's it, man. I mean, it is a grind, and I think it's like a lot of other things. And I'm saying this for the people that are out there stuck in this rut right now. At some point, you'll get out of it. You're either going to get out of it because you're going to decide, look, I quit. I'm not cut out for this. This isn't what I signed up for. It's not what I wanted. Or you're going to figure out a couple of tweaks here and there, and the flywheel is going to catch, and the next thing you know, you're going to be on your way to that $1 million book. But I hold the agency principals and the agency leadership accountable to all of that. A, because they should do a better job in the hiring process, and B, when they make that offer, they should be making sure that person is successful with reckless abandon. Too many times they're hired and cast off to the side, and then we want to know where the revenue is, but we have nothing to add to the conversation.
I cannot believe that you managed to work in Kevorkian into our podcast.
Dude, I got
I can.
I got Kevorkian and Roy Scheider, and we're not even 10 minutes in. So anyhow, all of that to say, you're where you want to be now.
Yeah.
You're in a wholesaler that will help agents who specialize in trucking, agents who want to specialize in trucking, get better at it and have markets that they may not otherwise be able to get. And I have said this from day one in my career, man. Early on, I was at a CIC institute, and the guy got up to talk, and it was actually a ruble. And the guy got up to talk, and it was like a 4-hour session on trucking. And he said, you're either in trucking or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't stick your toe in the water. It's not something you dabble with. You either know it or you don't. And I don't know it, but I think that also creates the obstacle for a lot of people who think they have to know it before they can get into it, which is like a conundrum, man. It's a catch-22. So my advice is find somebody like Wes and his organization, and you're going to find out by the end of this that you can get into it, you can learn it, and you can have access to the markets and make money doing it. You just have to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So talk about RockLake a little bit. I mean, a little bit of history, a little bit of what's going on right now, and all of that.
Perfect. So yeah, RockLake. What we always say is, if I'm giving the pitch, if I was to come in your agency and talk to you, I'm like,
give it to me, man. Lay it on like you just walked in the front door.
So this is the fun part of what I get to do. We're an online MGA that specializes in trucking. That's it. Like, I can't do a BOP, I can't do a property policy, I can't offer you workers' comp, but I can cover your truck. And if in this space where trucking is so hard right now, the auto liability market is atrocious.
Umbrella.
Yeah, I mean, everything is hard right now. It's a hard market. We allow you the ability to go into our system, get a rate, bind it, have a policy, and move on down the road. In a space where it takes weeks to get a quote, you can actually get your policy with us within 30 minutes.
Wow.
And we're able to use the data that we collect, and we use it really well. I mean, we trust our data. Well, Reagan had something he said that was like, trust but verify. We verify then trust. So we use our data first and foremost. We're heavy into analytics. We know what our data is telling us, and we believe it. Now, can there be errors? Can we fix it? Sure. But I would say overwhelmingly that we use the data that we have, and we have some really smart people. I'm using the word "we" very broadly here because when it comes to technology, that is not my foray. I don't know it well. I don't know how they use it. That we have some really smart people that work here that do. We have a lot of carriers where we're able to just get into it. They just plug and play. Now, we do have some that we have to refer, but our turnaround time has gotten better. One of the things I really appreciate about RockLake and their investment into the future is they're being proactive in their hiring. They're not waiting till we get to a certain book size and then hiring somebody. They're like, okay, the trend line's there. Let's get somebody on board so that when we get to this point, we're not playing catch up. Because too many times, that's what carriers and other people do is like, oh, man, we're so overwhelmed. We need to go hire somebody. Well, it's too late at that point. You're behind. We are already hiring the people in anticipation of the growth, and we are seeing the growth. And we had an extra great year last year in 2021 in a pandemic. I think we had 20% growth, and we're on track this year with the number of agents we're appointing and the production to exceed that. We've got some really great people that work here. I had the ability to hire 2 people to come on board, one that's outside of Spokane, Washington, the other one outside of Philadelphia, and both these gentlemen are just absolute pros. They're pro. I mean, they are great, and they do a great job, and they've got great connections, and they just go out and they know what they're doing, and it makes what I'm handling the middle of the country right now. It makes what I get to do that much more fun because I'm around people who are knowledgeable, who are energetic, and who have a really good understanding of what agents need and what agents want and able to deliver on that. And that really is from the top down of our organization. Our CEO, our president, everybody, they are all in on making the customer experience as best as possible. And I know it's kind of a cliche in that, how do you equate that? It's just how we say we're doing is we're not sitting on our laurels. We're not creating a system and then just walking away from it and wanting it to produce. We're constantly tweaking it. We're rolling out a completely new system, our internal system, where you can get data on insureds. You can enter the DOT number and find out everything you need to know about it, and you get access to that for free by being an agent.
Wow, that's huge.
We're tweaking that as we speak. It's great now, but now the second iteration of this will be something that allows you to get free leads as well within our system.
Wow.
So we're going to give that away. And then our rating side is going through a complete overhaul. It still works fine right now. I mean, it's great. But right now, if you need an auto liability quote, you go to autoliability.com. And that kind of tells you how long we've been doing this. You couldn't go buy autoliability.com right now.
You know what? Here's something, though. I want to stop you for 2 seconds because I'm going to make a point, and I'm interested in your response.
Okay.
And I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm warning you I'm putting you on the spot, but it's not in a bad way. What you just said tells me you guys have been around forever, right? If you've got the domain autoliability.com. That also tells me that with everything I heard prior to you mentioning that you are making a huge shift into investing into technology, user interface, user experience for agencies that are coming to RockLake for quotes. And it's not done yet, so it's still in transition, right? And so here's my thing. What do you have to say to the agencies who have used RockLake in the past before you decided you were going to go down this road and come into 21st century times, because we all have to have quoting ability online and all. I mean, I've got a workers' comp carrier right now that's constantly bitching about getting more submissions from us, but I have to go in, fill out accord forms, and do all of those things. And yet 100% of their competitors allow us to quote online. They create the accord forms from the quote. We can download them, get them e-signed, and put into our AMS in the matter of a couple of clicks of a button. And so I wonder, I'm just wondering, being devil's advocate here, because I have to believe that there was an old way of doing business that a subset of the people listening to this haven't heard of what you're doing now, and it's going to be very attractive to them to be able to come in and operate in a more tech-savvy environment. What would you have to say about that?
Well, we don't sit on our laurels. We did it a certain way for a certain time, and it worked. But if you're not continually improving, you're getting worse. I mean, there's a book called Atomic Habits. They talk about trying to get 1% better. We try to get 1% better every day. That's our goal. And so we took the feedback of, hey, this takes too long. There's got to be a better way. And we had our programmers and our CFO and our CEO and our president, everybody involved said, well, let's figure out a better way to do this. And so we took what we were told and started to build our rating platform. Now, again, we have autoliability.com, we have FISDAM.com, we have cargoliability.com. Again, we've had these for a long time, and they're all separate rating sites that you have to get into. You can take the information and port it from one to the other, but this new one will be one rating site. And it's going to be like Amazon in a way. Click, click, click. This is what I want. Okay, here's the questions. Here's your rate. Send it to your insured via DocuSign. Have them sign electronically. Here's your policy. Let's go. And then we're done. It's bound, and you move on. Along with that, we rolled out what we called automatic endorsements. You can actually get in the rating site and do an endorsement, and you have it within 2 minutes. You push submit, you check your email, and the endorsement's sitting in your email inbox, and it's done. You attach it to your agency management system and put it away. And all that's from feedback from current clients and prospective clients saying, you've got to do better. You've got to be quicker. You've got to do this. Okay, then we're going to do it. Let's find out a way. And so we started the process. And again, I'm using we very holistically here. Not me. It's not my stream.
No. I get it. It takes a village, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting to know, because I do think that I look at trucking insurance as kind of one of those things that is attractive to people. I've never really understood it, right? I don't know if it's because the premiums can be really good, and so people want to go after trucking because they can see themselves earning a lot more money because it's inherently more, higher premium, which equals higher commission. I think that's probably what it is. And so you attract a whole lot. How do you guys sift through who you really want to work with? Because I would like to think, and I hope what I'm going to hear from you is that you are selective. Like, you're not just going to appoint every single person that decides, hey, I've got a one-off hot shot trucking account. I mean, they can go to Progressive and write that stuff all day long. You know, that's not. I don't imagine that's what you're going to tell me your preferred class of business is. But, you know, a lot of times I can tell you in our world, we'll run into an account that's a manufacturer that has a bit of a trucking operation for delivery, you know, or I had one that was a recycler that had 10 power units that were tractor trailers. And, you know, we had one place. We could go to Nyco. That was it. I had to go through the guy that we used to get to Nyco, and we got there when in reality, I really could have used some competitive, you know, or at least some comparative analysis for that. I think there's a lot of us that are good agents that don't write trucking, you know, and specialize in it per se, but we have trucking exposures on our accounts, and we need a place for that too. Like my carriers are just not going to write long haul trucking. Period. Doesn't matter if you own the product or if you're hauling for somebody else. That's not what they're interested in writing. And so I think that those are the people that I would be looking to bring to RockLake, because they're smart enough, and not that the other people are not smart enough, but they're smart. They're good agents. They write good business. They write clean business. You're going to see a good submission from them, and all of that. And then you have the people who are the actual trucking experts who, let's just be honest, the people who are doing nothing but trucking probably don't need a wholesaler for a lot. You know, they're going to need it for the one-off stuff that maybe they don't have direct contracts for, but for everything else, those people are already set up for that. So who am I talking to right now? I'm talking to every single one of you out there that have placed 2, 3, 4 trucking accounts in the last 12 months, 5 even, and needed to go somewhere for it, and you just didn't feel good about where it ended up being. You didn't feel good about who you had to deal with, where you had to place it, or whatever else. That's who I would think you're looking for if I'm in your shoes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we want to work with the big shops that focus on it, because what we can offer for them, and granted, you're right, they have most of the markets, but they can get into our rating site and get APD and cargo quotes really quickly and compared to what they currently have, and possibly piece it together in a way where they get the AL here, maybe get something, you know, the umbrella there, and they put the PD and the cargo with us, and it helps their insured in a way from a pricing perspective. I would say that's a small subset, because there aren't that many, I would call, true trucking experts in the country if you're talking agencies across the board.
Well, you know what, man, here's something else, though, for those shops that feel like they have the markets that aren't really sure about a risk they're bringing in, right? I think this is something that agency principals miss because they're cheap, okay? They're worried about giving up 5 points of commission, right? So, we haven't even gotten into commission or any of that stuff, but let's just assume for purposes of this conversation that all wholesalers are equal in that they don't give 15 points most of the time. Most of the time, the agent's going to end up with 10 points, and the wholesaler keeps the spread between what the carrier pays them and what they pay the agent. And so an agent's going to look at that on a $100,000 account and say, well, on a $100,000 account, I'm losing $5,000, right? If I'm only going to get 10 instead of 15, I'm not going to do this because I'm only losing $5,000. But guess what?
Better
what
than
happens
zero.
when you what happens? But here's the thing I'm talking about. What happens when they don't really know that account, when they haven't done the risk management that they should have done, when they've not actually gone out and looked at it, and they bring a new account onto their book without really having their arms around it 100%, and in the first year, boom, blows up their loss ratio and their contingency's gone. Now, let's just say that this agency's contingency is 5%. You know, I don't know what the average is. I know that we have an exceptional deal with auto owners. I mean, one of the best profit-sharing programs in the country, if not the best. But let's just say it's 5% on an entire book of $5 million in premium. Uh-oh. We just made a $250,000 mistake because we were worried about $5,000, right? I could have Wes's company take the hit on their loss ratio as a wholesaler who has more premium aggregated and probably is not going to have nearly the effect on their contingencies as what it would be on mine. But I'm worried about 5 points in commission because that $5,000 means my kids are going to be able to eat. I don't give a shit about my kids eating. Well, I do. But what I want is I want the $250,000 so I can begin to accumulate serious wealth. And until we look at stuff like that, and we think through that or look through that lens of understanding, hey, look, there's other reasons to go to wholesalers aside from the fact it's just market access. There's effective management of your profitability of your agency. And I'm not saying throw all your crappy business to a wholesaler. That's not what this is. This is that new account that's reached out to you. You think you can help them, but you don't have the resources in-house. You haven't done the things you need to do to get your arms around it. If you're not 100% comfortable with that risk, sometimes it's a good business decision to place that business with a third party instead of bringing it in-house. Let it sit there. Let it grow. Guess what? If that account ends up being very profitable for them, I'm not going to speak for Wes, but I'm pretty sure that if you're writing enough profitable business with a wholesaler and aggregating critical mass, there will be a time for a conversation that you want enhanced compensation from them, right? They don't want to lose that business once they get it, but you also need to do what's right for you and your loss ratio. And I'm going to tell you what, John Mason talks about this. John Mason from Shenango Brokers, good friend of mine, talks about this all the time because he's got a really good commercial fleet program for contractors that they write. Well, a lot of us could go write that in our own agency, but here in Florida, you get one accident from one of your fleets and your contingencies are gone for the year. So we've actually started taking some of these newer relationships where we haven't been able to go in and put the risk management intranet in and do the fleet safety training and all the things that we do as an agency. We've started placing some of that business with John's crew because they can eat it. They can eat a loss on their loss ratio because they have far more aggregated premium. And I don't think agency principals, by and large, always think that way. They're more worried about they're tripping over $100 bills to get to singles every single day.
Yeah. And that's the biggest concern. I mean, where we play the most are new ventures. I mean, that's where, so a lot of these aren't going to fit a standard carrier anyway. We do international drivers, which we feel like it's an added enhancement. We run MVRs for you. We don't ask you to bring MVRs to the table. So we run it behind the scenes in our system. It pulls it for you as long as you put the CDL in there. And if it's an international driver, we ask the front and back of the CDL driver's license so we make sure they have correct credentials. But, I mean, yeah, you're right. Too many times owners are too worried about 5,000 instead of the 50 to 100,000 that they could possibly lose by putting that on their book. And we understand that, you know, if it's a new venture and it performs for us for 2 or 3 years, you know, you might be able to move it to a standard carrier or somebody else and make, you know, 50% more revenue. But again, we might have that conversation. You build a big enough book that we could talk about a possibility of more commission because you put $6-7 million bucks with us. And it's not hard to do in trucking. It's just really not because the premiums are high. It's just a market that a lot of people are pulling out of and not staying in. And so there are possibilities of growing a book quickly and profitably with us. I mean, I talked about our analytics, and our system runs a solid loss ratio year over year that does not get touched by a human. So it works. Our system works. And if you trust it and trust what we're doing, and we have underwriters who are looking at it. So an underwriter for us is somebody who handles just a program. And whether that program be, you know, X, Y, or Z, that's all they do. So they're turning quotes if it goes under review, some of them in less than 15 minutes, if you can answer the question they have.
Wow. What do you attribute some of these carriers pulling out of this for?
I would say a lot of it has to do with the fact of the legal environment. There are so many nuclear verdicts on each coast that are being handed out, and people are being pulled into lawsuits where they shouldn't be pulled into lawsuits. And when you keep getting burned and burned and burned, guess what? You're not going to write anymore. You're going to pull out. You're like, listen, I can't make money. And I always say, listen, there's a line that Mr. Berkeley has. Mr. Berkeley owns, you know, Berkeley companies, and he is a very smart man. And his line was, profit is sanity, premium is vanity. At the end of the day, he cared about making profit. That's what, I tell every agent, listen, I am here to make a profit for my carrier partners at the end of the day. I want you to write business. And if you'll trust the process that we have in place, we will. Now, will there be a loss at some point? Of course. I'm not, you know, omniscient and can't tell you when it's going to happen, but it will because that's the way insurance works. But trust the process and understand that if you can get into our system, use the analytics, use the rate, get it bound and move on, we'll all make money in the end as long as you continue to use it.
That's a lot, man. right? I mean, here's one of the things that I like about trucking. You can get a lot of information in public domain about these accounts, right? Like, to me, if I went back and I looked at all of the whether it be from Safer or any of these other places you can go, when I look back, if I really wanted to scale really, really, really fast, looking back 20 years, it might not have been a bad idea for me to put together a trucking vertical and just go after trucking all the time, right?
Yeah.
But you're saying that your system can kind of pull a lot of that info. It seems like it's extremely
Yeah, no, it's
intuitive.
like a user interface that's aggregating
Right.
it all in one spot. Like, I don't know why you would even go anywhere else at that point.
Yeah. I mean, like, for example, if you go, we call it MCSS.net. It stands for Motor Carrier Snapshot. You can go in there, enter the DOT number, push the search function. It will tell you what you need to know about that. Where have they been inspected? Where are they going? What are the vehicles? Which vehicles are getting inspected? Have there been any wrecks? Have there been fatalities? Have there been towaways? I mean, and nothing against insureds, but insureds have very short memories. That's just kind of how they work. Have you had any losses? Oh, no. No, I've never had any losses. And we pull our report, and like they had a fatality 2 years ago. I'm like, well, you know what? That was an accident. Like, somebody died. Oh, yeah, well, I forgot about that. That was 2 years ago. Well, I mean,
Still
when I
counts.
ask you if you have an accident, that matters. Like, information matters. So that's where a lot of that comes in. You can take that data and find out, and it will tell us, are there multiple entities at that location? Are there multiple entities handling one phone number? You know, it's very robust, and we pull it from public data, public information sources, and aggregate it for you so that you don't have to. And again, it's a value add that we offer for free if you're an appointed agent. Along with that, if you get into our rater and put the DOT number in there and push that search function in our rater, it will pre-fill a lot of the information that we need from MCSS. It pulls it into our rater right then and there to make life easy.
That's pretty slick because, I mean, I know when I'm not dealing with trucking stuff, but just other things, especially things that are excess and surplus for us, I spend a ton of time searching all sorts of different sites for this information. I mean, to be able to just go in and click a button here or there and have it populate all that info, I mean, that's like music to my ears.
Yeah.
That's legit.
It's good stuff. I tell you again, the people that we have working here are very smart and they're very dedicated to what they do, and they want to make the user experience, the agent's experience, easier. You know, the thing that we say is that the only thing in life that you can never get more of is time, right? It's the only asset that's around that you'll never get more of. Our system allows you to get more time because you're not spending time creating apps, sending apps, setting a diary, trying to remember to call the underwriter. Is there a quote? No, you just get in the system, get a rate, bind it, and move on. Well, that 2-week process could be down to 30 minutes. Let's just call it an hour if it takes you a while, if you type like I do. And it's done. So instead of 10 days, it's 1 hour. Now you can go, as a producer, you can go out and spend your time prospecting and filling your pipelining and writing business so that you can make more money. And to be honest with you, that's what I want to be. I want to be a valuable asset or a resource within an agency for producers so that they can go, hey, Wes, I've got this risk. What do you think? And go, hey, I go here. Because to me, if I can provide that for them, when that trucking risk comes up, guess who's going to get first and last look?
Yeah.
Me. Mm-hmm. And that's my job, is to try to write as much business for my company as humanly possible. And if I can be a resource for an agent in Missouri, one in Colorado, one in Texas, all of a sudden they start to pick up the phone and call me, and all of a sudden we're starting to get more business. Life's good.
For sure.
Yeah. What do you want agents to know, man?
That we're here. I mean, we have never really had a big marketing presence before, and I will credit our senior leadership for seeing the need for it and us getting here, and that we are willing to go out and come into their agency if they want us to. I know with the pandemic, some agents do not. If they don't, we can do it virtually, but we love to be out in front of people. I'm a marketing rep at heart. Like, I absolutely love making sales calls and being in front of agents and getting to know who they are and what they do. And we would love to come to their office and talk to them and see if there's a fit, show them what we do and how we do it. The rep that's on the West Coast, he always, when we're doing the training with an agency virtually, he goes, hold on, here's the aha moment. And when we work through the rate, and we love to show the agent the aha moment, because that's usually we can get them to say, yeah, let's do this. Let's get you signed up. So if you have trucking and you have a question, reach out. I mean, we're easy to find. I mean, you go to our website, hit the link to become a producer or ask questions, and the email will come to me, and I'll shoot you an email saying, hey, do you have 5 to 10 minutes to talk? And if it makes sense, we get you appointed. Our appointment process, our internal compliance staff is phenomenal. We're turning agency appointments same day in most cases. And we've already appointed more agents in January than they have in any month prior in their history that we've been tracking. And we still have, 4 or 5 days left in the month. And I know there's 5 in queue today that are going to get appointed today. So we're here to work. We're here to grow. And if you have the opportunities, I'd love the chance. And if you are a current client and aren't using us, call me. Reach out to me. I know you've gotten an email from me at some point because we are hammering our current clients asking for production. And if you don't want to work with us, and this might sound kind of bold, but that's fine. Don't. And when your competitor sends it in, we'll write it for them. And no harm, no foul. I'm here to write premium. I'm here to grow our book. I would prefer to do it with you, but if you don't want to do it with me, I'll find somebody that will.
There you go.
I think you bring up a really, really good point. In again, here I go. I'm going to hammer my peer group, but they need to be hammered. I can't tell you. Like I see this all the time with. Well, I mentioned Davey Holt right earlier on from IPFS, and
yeah.
I listened to Davey talk at BrainShare this year in San Antonio, Jason Cass's event. By the way, people, if you haven't registered yet, you might want to reach out. If you don't know Cass, reach out to me and I'll see if I can get you in. He only had 20 spots left as of yesterday. Very limited event. It's going to be in Kansas City at the end of April this year. Anyhow, we were in San Antonio at BrainShare, and Davey, I heard Davey talk for the first time. And when I listened to all of the stuff that IPFS is capable of doing, that was the best thing I took out of BrainShare, because essentially I learned that I no longer had to worry about agency bill in my agency. It is fantastic for me. I love it. And so I'm talking to my friends like, well, I have IPFS. I didn't even know they did that. I have IPFS. Well, guess what, people? Read your freaking emails when these people are trying to tell you what they're doing to invest in technology and make the user experience better. You know, you don't want to meet with the premium finance guy when he comes to your office. You don't want to meet with the wholesaler when they come to your office. You don't want to open up their emails. You don't want to take their phone calls, but you're the first person standing in line to bitch when you don't know something that could have made your life easier, and you didn't bother to take the information in that was given to you. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be willing to bet you that probably 25 to 30% of the agencies that you have appointed right now don't submit anything. That number might be even larger than that, but I'm just going to say 25 to 30%. And those same 25 to 30%, 9 times out of 10, are the ones I'm seeing on Facebook groups or on LinkedIn or wherever else, asking other agents where they can go for things, or where they can get online quotes, or where they can do this or where they can do that. I would like to think that after hearing this today, you realize, oh crap, I've had a really good tool in my toolkit that I've never used before, or maybe it's improved, right? Maybe it's gotten a little bit better, and I missed it. I screwed up. I missed it. I just can't imagine with the information that I've heard today, other than the fact, people, this guy doesn't want your dogs. He doesn't want the garbage. You know, going back to what I said before, it's not like we want all the stuff you don't want to place. I did talk about hedging your loss ratio, but that's not with an account that you know is filthy, right? That's with an account you don't know. You have a new relationship or whatever else. You can hedge your bets that way. But Wes didn't come on here to say, please send me all your dirty trucking risks. God knows there's plenty of those out there. Yeah. You know, but there are those risks that you probably just forgot or didn't realize. Oh, wow, you mean I can go online and I can quote this online and I can get this information and this information that, by the way, also becomes very valuable to you at the point of sale when you can go in and show the due diligence you did to that prospect in underwriting them, in representing them to the carrier, even though, little secret, you didn't lift a finger. Their technology did it for you. You can still parlay that and leverage it at the point of sale to get the deal done, because you're going to look more professional than your competition, who's just going out there slinging some numbers into an online rater, coming back with a quote, and really doesn't have anything else to talk about what impacted the rate, what they can do to fix the rate, and all of the other stuff. So I just feel you've got some dormancy. I have to believe, for as long as you've been around, there's dormancy there. And, you know, it's probably a good thing for all of you sluggish people out there not putting stuff in that I don't run RockLake, because I cut you off at the knees and we go find the people who want to produce.
Let them know.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, well, it's funny you say that. We've been making phone calls with people who have submitted and go, listen, I need to talk to you. You haven't produced. Do you need us? If not, hey, let's just terminate, move on. No harm, no foul. And 9 times out of 10, oh, I just forgot. Or when we appoint people, that's to me the funniest part is I go appoint an agency and the first thing I get, well, all I get are auto declines. Well, did you give me all the stuff that no one else wants? Because if that's the case, there's a probability I don't want it either. But if you'll give me a shot at some of the business that you currently write, let's say that has a decent loss ratio. I mean, in trucking, it's either really good or really bad. But if you have something, give me a shot at that and see how I compare. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to put every piece of business. I'm not asking you to steal other wholesalers' business. I'm asking for an opportunity to write your new business. The stuff that's coming in the door right now, put me through the ringer, see if I fit. If I don't, that's on me, not on you, and I will own the fact that I'm not any good, and we will fix it. I mean, I will credit our leadership here. They are seeing that we're getting our decline rate was bumping up, and so they tweaked some things, and now our decline rate's going down because we increased our bandwidth a little bit, and all of that is going to help us, and then again help the agent. Davey's a good guy, so yeah, I ran into Davey for the first time at Kansas City at the National Young Agents Conference where we stayed at a hotel that IPFS owns apparently, and got to meet him there, and he is a great guy. I wouldn't ever tell him that face to face. Of course, I guess he'll hear this and he'll hear that I'm calling him a nice guy.
He probably never listens to this. You're safe. Let's just trash him for the next 5 minutes.
Oh, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He is. But my point was, again, IPFS, legacy player, made some strides in technology, tweaked their system a little bit, solved a major problem, and probably 75% of the agents that were in the room when he talked had no clue. And when I say this, I mean 75% of the agents that were already clients of his had no clue that was even an option, right? I had no idea, but I wasn't his client, so I was immediately his. Like, when I tell you, I walked up, he got done speaking, he was getting ready to go grab something to drink. I was in a table in the back corner. I grabbed him by the arm before he was able to get to the thing, and I said, I'm your new best friend. Let's talk for a second. And then I let him go get his water, and he came back, and we were immediately like, I came back in one of the and I moved quick, man, but that was like one of the quickest things I did was we were immediately moving all premium financing over to his organization. And again, I hold us as being at fault. Now, it's funny because it's when you talk to marketing reps from the carriers, we've conditioned them that we don't pay attention to anything that comes out. None of the emails or any of the other stuff. So my auto owners guy, when Joel calls me, he's like, hey, I just wanted to cover. I'm like, dude, you sent like 3 emails about that. I said, I want to remind you, I'm the guy that actually does read every single bulletin that comes out. I need to know that because that makes me better at the point of sale. Look, you might read 29 emails that have no worthwhile information for you as a producer or your agency as a whole. But if you quit, when number 30 comes out, and that's got that one silver bullet that you needed to know, you're done. So, yeah, some of the stuff is fluff. Some of the stuff is hit lists and all of that other stuff. But when I'm looking at coverage enhancements or changes in rate and I can be out in front, that's where we thrive.
And that's one of the things we did with our rater is you have the ability to get in there and compare 3 rates at one time for coverages to see what the differences are. So you can say, this one's admitted, this one's not admitted. Here's the deductible structure. Here are the coverages. Here's the limitations if there's any state limitations or coverage limit, or if it's cargo, what certain classes that we don't cover. So that you, as an agent, can compare those and go, oh, well, this one's cheaper. Well, here's why it's cheaper. This one's more expensive, but here's why it's more expensive. Here's some of the enhancements they throw on to make it a little more expensive, but it's really a more robust policy for the insured. So I really think this is a better option. Then you present it to your client and go, here are 3 options. Take a look. Let me know which one you think, because it's Mr. Insured, it's your choice. You're the insured. You make the final decision here. Let me know. Here's what I believe are the best options for you, and you put it in front of them. Instead of having to pull 5 different ones and put them on, take 5 pieces of paper out there, you can just put it on one. It's one PDF screen that you can screenshot or share because you can email it to your insured and have them walk through it and go from there. I mean, to me, if by allowing the insured to understand what they're buying, they become a more informed insured. And that's all we're supposed to do as an agent, that's what you're supposed to do is inform your insured so they understand what they're buying and why they're buying it. Not just because it's the bottom line. It's $1,200, you got to pay it. It's not a very good agent. And a good agent goes, it's $1,200 and here's why. Here's what you're getting with this $1,200. Now, here's some of the exclusions. You need to understand this on the front end. This is not covered, and here's why, because of X, Y, Z. I mean, it's just the way it works. And you do that, and when you educate your client, they become a good client, but you also become that trusted resource that we talked about earlier, that they understand you know what you're doing. You are the expert in this field, and that's why they hired you.
Absolutely. Gives you that credibility.
Hey.
Whoa,
Sweater brothers.
Jinx. Sweater bros. Wes, we've covered a bunch, man. What have we not touched on that you wanted to hit on today?
Well, we're excited to be partnering up with you guys for your event this summer in Key West. So I just getting ready to book a flight down there. So I'm excited. I've never been deep sea fishing. One of my really good friends here in Oklahoma, that's where I live now. I live just on the north side of Oklahoma City. Told me to take some Dramamine because you don't want to start getting seasick. I've never been seasick.
Yeah, so
your boy's going to be at the pool while you clowns are out there.
Yeah, Kyle didn't even go. Listen, this is what I will tell you, and this is for everybody else who's coming. We're actually, the landing page is live. As quick as I wrap up this, I'm going to go record the video, and then we're going to get it out so everybody can officially start registering so I can get a head count, because it's getting crazy with how many people are coming. But you definitely need to take Dramamine or Bonine, because those boats do not come back in when they go out. Like, if you go out and you get sick, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
You know, I tell everybody that. My wife will tell you that, like, I tell her that.
The reason I don't mess with it is because it happened to me. Like, I went deep sea fishing in Cabo, and I was like, I don't know.
Was it the fishing? Was the fishing the problem in Cabo?
Well, I was in high school, so it wasn't like I was getting.
You're also not in the
blasted or
United
anything
States, so that goes out the window.
No, I'm telling you, I really wasn't drinking or anything. Like, I get on the boat and we're sitting there inhaling the boat fumes at 4 a.m. because
it's the worst. We had to be there. Like, once it hits, man.
I went in the cabin and just passed out, and then I woke up and we were out, and like I came out of the cabin and it was just like, and I'm like, oh shit! Started puking over the side. It was bad.
Yeah, no, it is.
Oh, but take the Dramamine. Take the Dramamine like a half hour before you get on the boat. Or
no,
whatever.
You take it the night.
Here's
the secret, Wes. I'm going to give you the pro tip. You take it the night before,
okay.
And then you take it again the next morning, an hour when you get up. Take it the night before and let it load, because an hour before you get up is never enough. We should not run into the kind of weather that would make you sick down there. I mean, usually probably at that time of year, it's reasonable. You know, it's not. You might have some little rollers or whatever else, but you know, Andrea will tell everybody there's been more than one time she's been out there throwing up for 6 hours, and I refuse to bring the boat back in.
Yeah,
but she will also tell you that the one time I was sick on the boat, I stayed out for 8 hours throwing up over the side of the boat. If I expect it from everybody else, I'm going to live by the same rules. And I was really clear about that when we went out last year, because, you know, there were a lot of people that were in the same boat, right? Like, there's two.
I can just picture this conversation. Just like you standing at the dock, like in the morning.
Yeah, here's the conversation. It's really
everybody.
The conversation's really, really easy. It goes like this: there are 2 rules when we go fishing. Rule number 1: be at the marina at 7:45. The boats are leaving at 8. We will not wait on you. I can't. We've got a limited amount of time. If you can't, get there 15 minutes early to make sure you're on time, we just can't do it. Rule number 2: when the boats go out, they don't come back. They cost a lot of money, and there are a lot of people that want to enjoy the experience. If you think you're going to even remotely be close to getting sick, take Dramamine or don't go. You're welcome to join us for dinner. You're welcome to, enjoy the fish that we caught. While your week rear end stayed at the pool all day.
Dude, I don't give a shit. I will be there sucking down margs.
It really is. It's a good time, but I'm very, very clear with people. Like, if it's not something that you are comfortable with, don't. Like,
for me, it wasn't
pressure.
necessarily the waves. It was more so the horizon and not being able to see land and have something to focus on.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been. I mean, obviously you can tell from my accent. I'm from East Texas. I mean, I have a pretty thick drawl, so I never spend much time on the ocean other than flying over it.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna try and talk you into doing something bad for you, man. It's a good time. And the other thing is, the captains are honest. If the wind is too bad and it's not gonna work or whatever, they're gonna say, look, it's gonna be really windy and your people aren't gonna have a good experience. Then we punt, right? We figure out what we're gonna do at the last minute. But that event is not about the fishing. It is about the fishing, but not about fishing for fish, right? And so for the people that are in Killing Commercial listening to this, pay attention. By the time this airs, the landing page will already be up. I hope that you sign up and that you come. One thing that I did learn last year is when you make this event free for people to attend, They don't they think it's free for everybody. Here's a fun fact: it's not. Okay, it's not free for everybody. So if you sign up knowing that you're going to come, and please, whatever you do, if something happens, make sure I know sooner than later, because we order custom shirts and all of the other stuff for this and do it up right. So anyhow, I'm excited you guys are going to participate. I'm even more excited for you to send me an appointment packet when we get off of this, because I'm tired of the guys asking me about the one-off trucking markets, and we've not placed our first piece of business with you yet, and I'm looking forward to doing that in the next couple of weeks, because we see this all the time, and we just don't do anything with it. So it goes back to staying in our lane, but if I have a comfort level knowing what the experience is going to be like using you guys, then I'm all for it. And if anybody wants to compete with me and you think this is where you want to go, let's do it. Let's just have monthly trucking updates for who's placed as much business as they can through RockLake, and see what kind of bragging rights we can get from it.
Try we'll put it on the big board and see how everybody does.
Do it, man. Let's gamify this beast.
That's it. Love it. Well, thank you guys for the opportunity to do this and talk about RockLake and where we are, where we're headed. And we look forward to the opportunity to meet you guys actually in person, if not before June. Once we get you appointed, we'll make a trip. I enjoy traveling, so get out there and get to Florida, because you can't beat coming to Florida, except for in like July when it's 107. And then,
or you know what? Here, this is a funny story. Like
it's miserable.
June in Key West, it's actually cooler in Key West than it is in Tampa. By like 10 degrees.
Really?
Yeah, it
Just
really
windy.
is. It's hot. Don't get me wrong. It's hot, but you have enough breeze blowing across the island and all of that. Where I'm at, in Kyle's a little further north than I am, we just have really weird weather. Like a couple weeks ago when it was it was like 30 degrees at my house, but it was 50 in Tampa. I'm like 20 minutes away. It has to do with the way the water has the wind come, the
Gulf
breeze come
breeze
across
and all
it.
that. Yep.
Yeah, and we're colder when it's cold, and we're hotter when it's hot.
35-degree swing the other day. I woke up in the morning. It was 35 degrees, and then by like lunchtime, it was 70. Like what?
Wow.
It's
Yeah,
absurd.
that's the way it is. It was yesterday even. Yesterday it was really cold in the morning and warm. So anyhow, everybody else, thanks for listening. Listen, if you enjoy the show, please go to iTunes, go to Spotify. I don't even know if Spotify lets you give reviews or whatever, but do me a favor, give us a thumbs up or whatever, or a thumbs down if that's the case. I'll find you. But give us a review. Tell us that you listen to the show. There is nothing that I like better than going in and reading somebody say, "Hey, look, I heard an episode, I pulled a trick," or "Listen, I listened to that episode with RockLake, and I've been considering going in and learning trucking and doing it, and that was about 6 months ago, and I've already written $500,000 in premium with these guys. It was the best episode ever." Like, do that stuff, please. We're not asking you to pay for this. I mean, Scott Howell, Insurance Guys Podcast with Bradley Flowers. Scott will always say that everybody out there wants to give you, when you ask for the recipe to Aunt B's chili, they give you 12 out of 15 ingredients. We give you all 15 on Power Producers, people. We're an open book. Why? Because 85% of you aren't going to take action anyhow. At least that's what market analysis tells me on the street when I'm taking business from you. So go out there and make a difference in your community, write insurance, and get nasty. See ya.
You've been listening to the Power Producers Podcast. You can follow Killing Commercial Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our book, The Extra 2 Minutes, and our website, killingcommercial.com.